Hello dear students, once again welcome to the weekly current affairs sessions. We are in the first week of September and we are covering current affairs from September 1 to September 7th. As you can see, these sessions are divided into two parts, which is prelims areas and mains areas, and I hope you're making notes along with this itself. In the first week of September, there were so many government schemes related to different areas, and I would say that this week is going to be, or this discussion is going to be very scheme heavy. So take that in your current affair notes, wherever you're writing the government schemes, keep that ready. Or if you're writing specifically when you look at the prelims topics, one of the first set of things that have happened is several, I would say almost 7 to 8 agriculture schemes have gotten approval. And so if you have a separate section for agriculture, you can write it there, or in your government schemes, wherever you're writing these agriculture related things. So we have 8 agriculture related government schemes that have gotten approval, and now we have to discuss it in detail. The first scheme that we have to discuss is something called as Digital Agriculture Mission. The Digital Agriculture Mission, as very obvious from the name, is trying to incorporate technologies like your AI, big data, etc. into the farming process. Okay, so even the other day when we were discussing, in the other weeks we were discussing about it, we are told about how you are having certain portals which can connect, so integrated pest surveillance system. It connects the farmer with your agriculture scientist and tells them about the nature of the pest, nature of the disease that is there in their crops. Got it? So when it comes to these particular or Digital Agriculture Mission, it's a very large program. Under this Digital Agriculture Mission, you have 3 major parts. One, you have AgriStack. Then you have something called as Krishi Decision Support System. Then you have Soil Profile Maps. What do each of these do? Each of these help. In the case of Soil Profile Maps, it uses AI and remote sensing and guides the farmer into what kind of crops can be grown in a good manner. In the case of Krishi Decision Support System, again, you can put in your certain values of your water content, acid, the soil alkalinity or the acidity, etc. And you can get the different suggestions as to what crops can be grown. AgriStack, again, is trying to ensure where are all the good seeds available, what is the stock of it, how can it be reached out to the farmer. All of these things are digitally maintained in your AgriStack. Okay, so these are the 3 major pillars under the Digital Agriculture Mission, and the Digital Agriculture Mission is what got approval now. Also, under this Digital Agriculture Mission, there's also one component that they have incorporated called as Digital General Crop Estimation Survey. That means to understand not only what the farmer can grow once it's grown, and once it is there in the, on the field, what amount of, for example, how much area is grown, if that is entirely crop, the area is fully under crop cultivation itself, is there any wasteland? All of these things will be helpful to estimate both what is the crop production in the country, and also if at all any loss in production has happened, that also can be estimated when you are having this general crop estimation survey. Okay, so these are 2 components under your Digital Agriculture Mission. The next mission or the next program that got approval is Crop Science for Food and Nutritional Security. Okay, Crop Science for Food and Nutritional Security primarily focuses on agriculture research and education. Okay, we need food security in the future, and food security in the future will happen when you improve on your crop productivity. One of the major elements of crop productivity is using exemplary seeds, exemplary fertilizers, very efficient way of watering. Okay, So here, to understand each of these things, you need extensive amount of agriculture research and education, and this is what this program focuses on. Also, it also tries to focus on genetic improvement for food and fodder crops. That means what? Using certain genetic editing technologies or gene editing technologies, you try to ensure that these crops or whatever is the seeds that you're getting, they are of high yielding varieties. Okay, so this entirely the research and education part is dealt in this program. The next program is again strengthening agricultural education, management and social sciences. Here it is the research which is focused on. Here it is general education that is there at your lower education levels, so that you can, from the lower classes itself, you can actually tap good people into agriculture research. Okay, and this program is done by your ICAR, Indian Council for Agriculture Research. The next three programs are all, because the missions of it or the different features of it are not given in a detailed manner. The next three are sustainable livestock health and production, sustainable horticulture, Krishi Vigyan Kendra and natural resource management. Okay, so these three are already there in different elements. They've just compiled it all together and they've given more fund approval under, because this budget has come about and now very recently they've given the approval for these three. The next important agriculture thing that I want, and I think out of all of this, the most important ones would be the Digital Agriculture Mission and this one. This is AgriSURE Fund. AgriSURE Fund, otherwise also called as Agri Fund for Startups and Rural Enterprises, is basically a fund created to support agricultural startups. Okay, it's a fund created to to support agricultural startups. And when it comes to anything agriculture, one of the prime banks related to it is your NABARD. What is interesting for me over here is NABARD has now launched a subsidiary of it, a wholly owned subsidiary of it called as NAB Ventures. NAB Ventures. It's this NAB Ventures that is actually funding this AgriSURE. So you have a fund created by NAB Ventures. That fund will go about and help out your agricultural startups. Okay, so in this fund, the entire thing is called as your AgriSURE Fund. Got it? So I hope this entire agricultural related. See, the thing is that now when you look at it, you would be like, all of this is the same thing itself. So this is the reason why for the ones that you need extensive points, I've given you the points. Just write those points specifically over there. The other one, which is livestock and your Krishi Vigyan Kendras, we have not gone in detail because it's already several times around. We've discussed this in the past. You just need the new content which is there that you have to jot down. And I hope you've listed it down over here. Now we go into the next term, drug repurposing, and this is a topic under your science and tech. What is the meaning of drug repurposing? The idea of drug repurposing is that you are using an existing drug or a drug candidate or a active component of a drug for a completely new treatment or medical condition for which it was not indicated before. Okay, like for example, something that was there maybe for, you have something to treat disease X, and that is what you've been using it for. Suddenly you are figuring out that this drug, use, or not the entire drug, maybe some components of it can be maybe used to treat another kind of cancer. Got it. That is not what the initial purpose of it was, but you are now repurposing the drug. Why are we discussing about this? In India, the Institute of Advanced Studies in Science and Technology, IASST, has recently figured out this, and they have figured that the Seligilin is actually a drug. And this drug, which had a lot of other properties to treat inflammations, etc., they found out that this can actually be used to even treat certain cancers. Okay, how did they find it out? They looked into the different components of it, they checked it on different cancer cells, and they were able to conclude it. This is the reason why this entire term is in use. Drug repurposing primarily means that you are using an existing drug or a drug candidate for a completely new treatment of a medical condition which was not indicated before. Okay, so this is the idea of drug repurposing. The next topic is important from an international relations point of view, because this is not a current affair, but we are now celebrating the 85th year of your Munich Agreement. What is a Munich Agreement? For those who are not well versed with your world history, your Munich Agreement was, you can actually call it, it was the front runner or the forerunner of your Second World War. Now, primarily because, see, I'll give you a bit of context over here. What was happening was, you had Germany, which was led by Hitler, and the idea of Hitler was to have an entire Aryan country, not Aryan country, an Aryan kingdom sort of a thing, where any country, or to massively usurp places, to massively capture places which he felt was related to or having a kind of German lineage, and to massively kill off people who were considered minorities in these areas. Now, to do this, and when he started doing it in Germany, the other world countries were like, okay, yeah, fine, whatever is happening in Germany is their problem, let it be there. They didn't react much. Slowly, Hitler got a little bit more bolstered. Hitler was like, yeah, nobody cares if I'm doing this also. So then, Hitler tried coming out and tried, what you say, trying to invade into other countries. It's at that point that these countries felt that, okay, we need to, and even at that point, they didn't feel that we have to fight Hitler at that point. This is happening 85 years ago, means somewhere in your, way before the World War has not yet begun or anything. So what has happened is, these other countries, which were all very, developed and everything at that point, the Great Britain, France and Italy and everyone, they felt that, see, let Germany do whatever they want. As long as they stay out of our land, we are fine with it. Okay. Instead of that, if they had maybe fought against Germany at that point, things would not have gone so bad and so worse into a Second World War scenario. But at that point, the countries were like, especially Germany, Great Britain, France and Italy, they were like, see Germany, what do you want? Germany was like, I want a certain part of Western Czechoslovakia. Western Czechoslovakia, according to Germany, according to Hitler, belonged to Germany area, and he wanted to invade that. So the other countries were like, okay, fine. As long as you are telling us that you will invade only them, and you will not come to us or anything, you will not invade our friends or Poland or any of the other areas. As long as none of these countries are invaded, we are cool with it. You invade Western Czechoslovakia. And Hitler went on to invade it. And this, Hitler specifically wanted an area called as your Sudetenland. And the Sudetenland was invaded by Hitler. Now, obviously, Hitler didn't stop over there. 6 months after the agreement, Hitler violated this agreement again, and he started venturing into the rest of Czechoslovakia. So he wanted just Sudetenland first. They all agreed to it. Fine. Then he invaded into the rest of Czechoslovakia. Again, nobody blinked an eye. And after Czechoslovakia, Hitler tried invading Poland. And when Hitler tried invading Poland, that is when the other countries started getting the right picture. They are like, oh yeah, so then in this case, Hitler might invade us also. And thus is where your Second World War starts. Got it? So the Munich Agreement actually was the reason that just gave Hitler the feeling that he was undefeated, he was super powerful, he could do and get away with whatever he wanted. This kind of feeling started off with the Munich Agreement, and very recently we had the 85th year anniversary of the Munich Agreement. So I hope it's clear. Where will you put this under? You will put it under your IR or your history part. Again, world history never comes as a question or anything, but whenever it's an anniversary year like 85th, 100th or something, have a little bit focus on it. That also reminds me, we are going to very soon celebrate the anniversary years of the Supreme Court of India. Obviously, I'll discuss it in one of the sessions also, but just telling you that since I just remembered the anniversary thing, so we are going to celebrate that. So any Supreme Court related articles, Supreme Court related judgments that are coming in the recent times can be important. Okay. Now moving forward, we have to discuss about something called as zombie fungus. In our previous sessions, we've talked about zombie eyes, we've talked about zombie virus, but zombie fungus is not any of it. It is not lying under the under your snow or anything. Zombie fungus is actually like a zombie. I'll tell you how. Let's have a look at what happens. Okay, now for example, this is a very normal fungus. It's a parasitic fungus. Till here it's fine. Parasitic means what? It tries to infiltrate the body of the host. In the host, it gets the nutrients and the shelter it needs. And based on the nutrients and the shelter, it keeps on deriving it from the host. The host becomes weak and weak and weak. But the whatever is the creature that is there inside, the parasite, it keeps on growing in a good manner. So, this fungus that we're going to talk about right now is actually a parasitic fungus. And its name is Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, otherwise just called as cordyceps. Cordyceps. We'll come to a good point about it later, but as of now understand. So this cordyceps is called as zombie fungus because it not only just derives things from the host, it basically changes the behavior of the host. I'll tell you how. It all starts when there is this ant. It's the carpenter ant. You all would have seen this. It's that brown color ant, it quite stings when it bites. That's your carpenter ant. Now this carpenter ant, it's walking on the ground in your forest and everything. It meets this small spores. Spores mean small sticky substances that are thrown by this fungus on the ground. Okay, so it sticks to the surface of this ant. So the first thing is, this ant which is walking on the rainforest floor, it gets attached to this microscopic spores that are dropped by a mature fungus. Then what starts happening is, now suppose this is the ant's body and the spore hits the ant's body. Once the spore touches the ant's body, it starts releasing an enzyme from there, and that enzyme slowly eats the outer covering of the ant's body and it gets inside the body of the ant. Okay, so the spore is now inside the body of the ant. After And this is from where its cruelty begins, where normally it enters into the body, and what happens? After it enters into the body, it takes the food and water and everything that is needed. But here, this spore which has entered the body of the ant, what it tries to do is, because it's going on developing in the body of the ant's behavior starts changing. The ant, instead of now being in its ant colony and collecting food and everything, the ant will slowly move into a very hot, humid area where there's enough of water, and it'll just lie there. Why? Because the spore has now changed the ant. It is now turning or prompting the ant to go and lie in an area where the spores which are there inside the ant can rapidly develop. Okay, so here after 2 days, the ant leaves its tree colony, climbs down to a spot where the humidity and temperature are optimal for the fungus to grow. And then here what happens is, it just waits, it will just bite into a plant over there, it will lie down over there, and inside the body of the ant, massively, the spore will start growing. Obviously, when the spore starts growing that much, the ant dies. Once the ant dies, the fungus which is there inside it will consume the entire internal organs of the ant. It's not over. And the fungus remains inside it itself. So outside, it is the protective covering of the ant's body. Inside, the fungus lives. Inside, the fungus lives, and the fungus main stem, called as a stroma or something, it will come out from the ant's head. And once it comes out from the ant's head like this, again what happens? It starts releasing the spores, and in that area itself, the carpenter ant will again get, and it will be, the other carpenter ant's body, it will get the spore, and the same thing happens. So, the point over here is, this is parasitic. Now, this can be asked as from the environment point of view, that very simple question about this, fungus and the carpenter ant and the correlation between them. There's no correlation. This is very parasitic in nature, and it's called as zombie fungus because it feeds on the dead body of the ant. It feeds on the internal organs and remains in that casing itself. Okay, so it still uses the host for its shelter, but all the food and everything that is there inside, it is eaten up, or the internal organs of the ant are eaten up by the fungus. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting for us. I told you about all this cruelty of the fungus and everything, and this is where it comes that this fungus, though, it's very bad for the carpenter ant, but the fungus as it is has certain enzymes in it that are extremely crucial for a lot of medicinal, when I'm saying for a lot of traditional medicinal combinations. Okay, so for a lot of traditional medicinal combinations, this is very crucial, and especially it's in your Tibetan medicine, in your Chinese medicine and all, it is extremely crucial. So much so that these secretions that are coming from this fungus, it's called as white gold. Got it? So this is the other side of it. For the carpenter ant, it is a very bad scenario. But for human consumption, when you look at the fungus, it has certain good properties also. One more thing, the reason why it came as a current affair is because, see, normally what is it infecting? It's infecting the carpenter ants. Very recently, they have found that this zombie fungus has infected a tarantula. A tarantula is a type of a spider, one of the most toxic spiders, poisonous spiders that you know. And this cordyceps actually has zombie fungusified this tarantula, and that was a recent evidence. That is when they knew that the zombie fungus could actually infect even the spider populations, could infect this a tarantula like thing itself. So this became something of much interest. Okay, this is what is there in news. I hope this entire thing is now clear to you. We were talking about cordyceps, and we were talking about how the zombie fungus creates zombie, and you can see a lot of these things growing in your tropical rainforest of Thailand. You do see it even in India and certain northeastern sides and all. You do see this cordyceps growing. Okay, so I hope this entire topic is clear to you. Now we move on to another important area called, and you know this is Lothal. Okay, there was again articles on last week, I think, when we discussed, we had articles on Dholavira. This week we have articles written on Lothal. Lothal is where? So wherein you can put this under your history part. Okay, Lothal is actually located at 30 km inland from the Gulf of Khambat on the western coast of India in Gujarat. Lothal is famously known as the port city of Harappan civilization because you have found very good remains of your brick-walled dockyard and warehouse in your Lothal. Okay, so you have formed a clear, you've seen areas where it's a port structure, and associated with the port, you also have seen warehouses. For example, you have seen areas where you have the storage of grains. You found even evidences of grains over there. So you know for a fact that grains were stored over there and maybe transported to some part. So all of these evidences became very crucial in understanding what was the relation between the Harappan civilization and the other civilizations that existed in the world at the same time. All thanks to Lothal. And again, Lothal was also famous for not just for the port, but the belief was Sabarmati river used to flow by Lothal during the Harappan civilization. But again, Sabarmati has also now changed its course. Currently, where Lothal is, if you look at Sabarmati is almost 20 km east from where Lothal is. Got it. So the point being, the earlier times there used to be theory that said that maybe Lothal got destructed because of the flooding of Sabarmati or the changing of course of Sabarmati, because when Sabarmati is the major reason for Lothal to flourish, maybe the agriculture, whatever, we still have no evidence of it. Maybe when Sabarmati changed its course, the people over here perished. That could be one thing. The second thing is that there could have been maybe cases of flooding of Sabarmati that led to Sabarmati changing its course, and the flooding could also have damaged Lothal. But there is more weight given to the first theory, which says that Sabarmati changed its course and people could have died of drought. Why? Because a lot of these areas which are in Lothal, the remains that you get from here don't seem to be, because when water floods, there is a damage that comes from your different kinds of, when objects interact with water. Even today, when you are finding stuff from Lothal, it does not seem like it was affected by water content. So the flooding theory has now been put aside, and they are more focused on the fact that maybe the river changed its course and it led to a drought and, famine kind of situation over here. And that is how Lothal perished. Okay, so again, all of this was mentioned in the article, but now what is needed for us is the fact that right now it's in the Gulf of Khambat on the western coast. It has a dockyard and a warehouse. And again, one more thing, in Lothal also you see all three phases of Harappan civilization. Mostly you have evidence from the mature and late, but you have even seen evidences from the ancient time in your Lothal. Okay, so all early Harappan, middle and late Harappan evidences have been seen from Lothal. Moving further on, we have to talk about Vishvasya blockchain. Vishvasya blockchain. So again, blockchain, I hope you remember, if you've not forgotten, this again comes under your science and tech. What was blockchain, guys?